Welcome to Not Strong.
This is a podcast for men about real challenges and real growth.
Life can hit hard. What do you do when the things you've always relied upon quit working?
When the way you've always handled things just isn't enough.
When your physical, mental, and spiritual strength are put to the test?
Do you push through, hold on even tighter?
Or have you learned how to surrender? And what does that look like?
We're here to explore the human spirit with you and share what it takes to press forward through life's greatest challenges.
To tap into something bigger than ourselves and live a healthier, happier, more fulfilling life.
Join us on the Not Strong journey.
Welcome to Not Strong. My name's Kurtis Loftus.
And I'm Tim Hamby.
I'm Not Strong, empowering the human spirit. And this episode, Tim, will be on grace.
Yeah, good one. Good subject.
Yeah, grace-filled. Tim and I started this a year ago. No. Let's think, how far back did we start it? September, October, November, I might have started talking to you last year.
Yeah.
And, oh gosh, we've been at it. I mean, we're going to come up and we will have, at least 7 months, something like that under our belt.
Yeah.
8.
Yeah.
I don't do math well. We won't get in the weeds. So, yes, thank you for joining us. And the topics really focus on and have been focusing on the human spirit, what that looks like, what that, I've learned a lot doing research over the several months that this podcast has been happening, and the deep dives into divine spirit versus human spirit, how the psyche works a little bit, how our emotional, mental kind of challenges to daily life might work, or how we accept and move through not just the joys and all the experiences of life, but the trauma and some of the, disruptions of life.
Challenges.
It just trying to be good human beings and be good representations of, our Savior, Jesus. We've made decisions to talk about Jesus as, the important sort of example. That's what we want to reflect, right? But we're respectful of other ideas, concepts, and so we explore some of those things as well. And we also talk football sometimes, and we talk surfing as much as we can because we dig on that, right?
Yeah.
Do we dare talk about football real quick?
If you want to go there, I guess we can talk about it.
For a couple seconds?
Yeah, it's a bad weekend for football.
At least here in North Florida.
Yeah. First the Gator game, and then...
I didn't watch that. I don't watch much Gator football.
It was just as disappointing.
They played Kentucky, right? Was that...
They did. Well...
You forgot the game already.
Yeah. I've already put it out of my mind.
Well, put the Jags out of your mind with them, because that game was...
The Jags was the big one.
I think everyone in the country, finally... We were pretending and we knew we were pretending, but most of the country now understands that we're kind of pretenders.
I don't know.
Am I too harsh?
That's probably a little too harsh. They were
dude. How does that offensive line even finish a game like that and just go, "Hey, that was great, dude. We did our best." I mean,
well, okay. Can I make some excuses for them?
Absolutely.
They were playing against the number one defensive line in the league.
I get it.
So so there's that. But yeah, I got sick of watching these defensive linemen come flying around the edge, and our guys just like swivel head, watching them run past, and it was just. That was an awful game, and of course we got a lot of people out with injuries and different things. But man, fourth quarter, that was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, and I don't know. Why go
for that 2-point conversion? By the way, I think I told you before the show. That's when things started to fall. So they were probably already going wrong.
Yeah,
but that 2-point was like, ooh. That doesn't make sense. We're in a new place. This team is trying for points when they don't really need them. But why?
Well, the thing I was looking at is even on the first two scores, they were short fields. The defense,
of course,
gave the ball to us. We weren't going anywhere, doing anything on offense. Third quarter, it picked up a little bit. And then fourth quarter, just, my God, 1 yard of offense I think they had. and it's kind of been going that direction for the last couple of weeks with the Rams and Seahawks. And so it's just like...
Do you think people right now are shutting off our podcast just hearing this? Depressing. I would. Don't shut it off just yet.
Yeah,
we are going to talk about grace. I don't know if that really fits into this part of the discussion. But
I'm going to give the Jaguars some grace.
Okay.
I'll probably go ahead and still watch this weekend.
So
even though I think they've got no shot against the Chargers. But anyway.
Grace by definition is unearned favor.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you for favor.
Yeah. So thank you for taking that leap of faith or whatever you want to call it when it comes to the Jaguars, because they've been our team, my team, for 30 years now.
Yeah.
30
since its inception.
30 freaking years.
Yeah.
And it's hard to walk away, but man, it hurts. It hurts.
That was as angry as I've been.
Me too.
And there's been some.
I've heard that from a lot of different, like, stalwart fans, people that bleed Jag football, and they've said that very thing about the angriest they got over a football game.
There was so much opportunity.
So my youngest daughter called me during the game as it was finishing. Right at I was about the worst. I was livid, and she's trying to talk to me, and it's just going really bad.
Yeah.
I'm not making any sense. I can't just be a loving father and try to just have a conversation with my youngest daughter.
It ruins your day. It messes up the rest of the week.
And the Monday sucks. It's just awful. All right, so we'll pray. We'll do that. We'll pray, Tim, and then we'll get into a really
for the Jags.
Yeah, we'll get into this grace concept that isn't a concept, but it means a lot of different things. It does, and that's cool. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity. Tim and I sharing stories, our experience with these matters that are spiritual, things that are worldly. We're grateful that we get to have an audience that has a little bit of interest in what we're saying and some of the experiences that we've lived through, and let these words meet people where they're at. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
If you want, we could shift this podcast to a Jaguars podcast. We'll turn around the sign, and we could just vent and get it out for the rest of the next hour.
Yeah. Well, this particular topic was one, when we toss ideas back and forth, you were pretty excited about it. And so that makes me feel good. It's because we'll have some ideas, and it takes you on the lower end of excitement. It usually is response time. That's how I gauge it. How quick is Tim going to get back to me? And you responded pretty quickly, and you were, let's do it.
Yeah, grace is obviously a great subject. It's the foundation of everything in the Bible, and I think the way that we both live, and thank God for His grace and His mercy. Definitely in my life, I've received a ton of it.
Yeah,
and I'm grateful for it every day.
You really, truly, as you think through who you are and how you get to be who you are, where you are in life, where you are in your work, where you are with your relationships, everything about it can be dialed back to grace. If you're willing, if you don't want to just be a roboton or a robot.
And if you understand, where it comes from and how it manifests, and
exactly.
But I believe there's still a lot of people out there who don't get it.
Well, no, of course. I can't think of a better way to explain it. If we can get to the explanations, if we can show some examples in this podcast of grace and how grace works and how it's worked in your life, how I see it working in mine, that maybe it pulls some people forward that aren't quite sure, you know, or at least lets them fall back into it. Because that's what usually happens. At least, again, the way I read it, the way I understand it, you surrender almost into that grace. You know, when you're letting go, when you're in those places of such uncertainty, maybe even fear, it's like you go to something greater, bigger. You go to your, you know, we go to Christ. People go to, you know, other forms of release or something. But it's all, it's grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had some good stuff, you know, in your notes talking about, you know, people who, you know, in this modern world, the society we're living in, it's a big, you know, and we live in the thick of it in you know, the marketing culture. You know, we both had marketing firms and, you know, creative directors for a living and stuff. And, you know, we live in a culture of self-promotion. Yeah. And obviously these days with social media, you know.
Too many people that are creating brands and proud of it. You know, I literally heard that so many different times over the last week as you're in these political environments and there's this disruption going on in our country and there's people, you know, taking sides and fighting and they're challenging and you're looking and listening and you're trying and you're hoping to hear, you know, these bigger, more community-oriented kind of messages coming out of people. A
little more unity.
Yeah, but it's literally, I'm a brand that people need to listen to. I have this message, and I will fight for that ideology or that message. And you're like, whoa.
And you know, you asked the question, well, how do people that are, you know, self-centered or selfish experience grace?
Yeah.
You know,
how can you?
Is it possible?
Is it possible to?
Can they experience it? Can they give it? You know, and you know, I thought that you know, some of the answers here were, you know, pretty enlightening. And how can they experience it? You know, well, okay. Sometimes, you know, it happens as disruption. You know, grace can enter the life of a self-centered person through a humbling experience. And I know that I've been humbled a gazillion times in my life, you know, as a teenager, in relationships and, you know, relationships that went south through, you know, cheating on your girlfriend,
of course.
different things, and all those experiences. And you know, and then, you know, some we've talked in the past, you know, excessive partying, alcohol, you know, wound up in jail, you know, and those things are the times where it's a disruption. And it really makes you stop and reconsider everything and think, you know, and get you into a mindset of the things that you do have and are grateful for.
Best understanding I have of grace now is like I was pretty much always, when grace came on me, I was at a point of so much surrender, you know, so much like I have no ability here, right? And so a Christian or someone that has a belief that this higher power, this, you know, this good can move you forward or move you in a way where you find comfort and you move through. It doesn't make sense in the world. You know, it doesn't, I think, make a whole lot of sense to anyone unless they have a higher power belief system.
It's hard to understand. For sure, unless you've accepted, you know.
You've got to say it. Or at least for some people, because I will say, I'm Jesus, 100%. But I've seen people that have no Jesus at least get into environments where they realize, hey, your value, what you can do, beyond just, you know, drinking yourself into silliness or oblivion or dying this way, you can find your value. You can find love. You can find that, and they won't want to call it that Christ spark, that love, that divine love, but it's there. I've seen it, you know. It's just fortunate that we get to really dig deeper and really understand, like today, how does this really all work, you know?
Because I think it's a matter of people coming into understanding, because I think, you know, the grace, it was given to us. It was, you know, given to us when Jesus died on the cross. And, you know, but I think, you know, that it you know, it takes these, you know, these disruptions, these occasions where you can learn, you know, to begin to understand it, and you know, to begin to fully understand it, and to feel it, you know, and that was another, you know, note that you had here. Grace is awakening. A person might not feel grace until they encounter unconditional love.
Yeah,
and so that can be through another human being. It can be a moment of awe, realization that life's bigger than them.
Yeah.
And you know, and those kind of moments can awaken them.
Right. No,
you know,
and I think it's the religious thing that does hold some people back. You know, that's why, you know, and like I said, I'll continue to bring these kind of things into our conversation, but with my recovery and the people I'm around, there's 60 some people sometimes in a room, you know, and they're all very different. Every one of those 60 people, but there are some wonderful humans, you know, that I know have been touched by God's grace. They haven't yet recognized it. They haven't yet professed it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you just know for sure that they are in the presence of something now, in the way they move, the energy, the understanding, the humility.
I know people like that too. And I pray for them.
Yeah. Because you go, you are there. You are right there. And it's so wonderful to give that glory to someone. You know, I know that you don't want to, but it's really cool if you can do it. So, and that's our Creator, you know, that's why we get to live this extraordinary life. It's a gift. And when you get there and you finally understand, wow, this is big, it's deep. I can live in this, or when it's really present, I can rejoice in it. You can say, thank you, God, this is incredible. Yeah, this statement right here, where sin increased, grace increased all the more. That's Romans 5:20. And that, I mean, think about that. That's just it. That's powerful. So the meaning there is grace doesn't avoid sin and selfishness. What it does is it overwhelms them with love, so undeserved, so undeserved that it breaks the ego's control. That's the kind of power. You know, because you know and I know the ego and our pride are massive. It runs the day for us, you know? So that's the disruptive thing is very cool. I also have this piece that's the universal thread, which again, I'm kind of digging on grace as love seeking the lost. So in every faith, grace is portrayed not as a prize for the good, but as love in pursuit of the lost, the force that breaks through selfishness and isolation to remind the soul of its divine belonging. You know, it's a universal idea, right? We are blessed to understand who represented that to us, who brought mankind, this in form of Jesus. I mean, God gave us Jesus so that we could see him live out the grace, you know, the mercy, the love, be the example. We got that. And I'll be forever grateful that now I understand that better. And that's, you know, my responsibility is a reflection of his love. So, how do you share it now, though? How do you bring this to not just the lost, but just to really glorify him and make this something we can rejoice in daily? Like, it doesn't have to be, you know, ever so often. Oh, that was a nice grace moment. It's like, no, it's all the time.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think you gotta live with that understanding, and try and model it as well as you can in every situation. I mean, it's prevalent. There's opportunities, through every day, little ones, big ones.
Yeah.
They don't all have to be, huge public pronouncements and grand things.
No. Yeah, it says right here, grace preached loudly is argument. Grace lived gently is revelation or revolution. So yeah, you're going to lead by example, and it's back to me, saying things like terminology that's in our recovery program. It's not promotion. It's how you carry yourself is the way people get attracted to you.
Yeah,
You don't promote it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's just, well, I mean, I think it's something that you just
People see it. They understand it.
You do. You try and be gracious and gracious with things like being forgiving, not taking things personally. Little simple things. There's, just being present with people, listening to them.
Yeah.
And not judging people. All
these things are almost the exact opposite of human nature sometimes, though.
Yeah. I don't think they're necessarily, I don't think they line up with human nature, because, human nature is sinful nature.
So here's this nature of grace. Pulled this one definition, and this is, I guess, Hebrew, Greek. That's where it comes from. Favor, kindness, or the gift, freely given by God, not earned by merit. So a couple of foundational texts for us today. I will be, and this is from Exodus, I will be gracious to whom I will be, is that correct? I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Grace originates in God's sovereign will. Interesting. That's Exodus 33:19. Psalms 103, verse 8 through 10. The Lord is compassionate and gracious. He does not treat us as our sins deserve. And then John is, the world became flesh, full of grace and truth. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's so many verses on grace throughout the Bible. Obviously it's it's the foundation. The entire arc of the Bible story: creation, fall, redemption, restoration. That's all wrapped in grace. It's like the divine thread that holds the whole narrative. Together.
Yes, I know, you're right. It's the glue, whatever. I liked, as I was doing some of the research and thought about myself with grace, I just, so much of what I can be bold about now is the restorative grace. Mm-hmm. Just knowing how beat up and how lost I was, in a sense. How far away I had gotten from that value, that love for myself, God's love, that to have it back, over time, it was a gradual work, but I will announce to anyone that cares, it's progressive. You can continue to, you never stop growing in that, I guess is my point. You would think, learned enough. I'm there, read the book, done that, been there, done that. And it's not that way with grace. It's not that way with, I think, anything else that I've been through. Does that make sense? Because grace shows itself in all sorts of things, as your point was made. Mm-hmm. And so as you live out a life, understanding that every bit of it is built around grace, it's not sacramental, sanctification. And that kind of makes sense, mm-hmm. To me.
Sanctification is a process we're all going through in this life, mm-hmm. and hopefully on the way to glorification at some point. But it's a steady ascent mm-hmm. up a ladder to try and become more like Christ is the idea. Of course, in human form, we're never going to get there. Right. But because of His grace, we've been given mercy, and mm-hmm. we don't need to be as good as Him. We can't be.
No, of course, yeah.
Due to grace, we don't have to be.
Right.
He does it for us. We're living on His credit.
Mm-hmm. And, but He does have. I don't think a plan is the way to look at it, but if mm-hmm. you are in a place of full surrender to His reign, His love, mm-hmm. then it's endless. It's kind of like that. You don't stop. Mm-hmm. You don't finish this up. In terms of your understanding of what this all looks like, this thing looks like. It's really hard for me to explain, but that's where I'm at now as an individual.
It's like the stock market, I mean, I say it's a steady ascent up, hopefully as your understanding deepens and you are being sanctified throughout your life, but there's ups and downs, and mm-hmm. we still live in the world, and the world pulls you down, and we do have these disruptions, and even with cancer diagnosis. Again, it's another thing that brings more humility, after you spend many years thinking that you're invincible.
Sure.
And that you can do anything, physically that your mind sets itself to. And then one day you realize, well, no, that's not the case. And then you one day you realize that, well, maybe I'm not going to live to 150, whatever you had in mind. And so those disruptions, they happen all throughout life at any age. But on that path, through that sanctification, hopefully those experiences are, causing you to grow and learn.
They will,
be more grateful, be more aware, of all the gifts and the mercy and the grace that you've received, despite those dips, those disruptions.
On the restorative side of this, there's the pattern of restorative grace. Got some explanations in here. Joel 2, verse 25. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. And so essentially grace doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. And here's another stated in Genesis. The Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. So though they fell, God covered their shame, their first act of restorative grace. It's interesting. Genesis 6:8, Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And so that's amid his corruption, grace restores the world's continuity. And Lot and then Moses, of course, there's Exodus. Despite his flight from Egypt and self-doubt, grace calls him from exile to the leadership. And Moses was very humble. Restorative grace reshapes the character. I mean, there's just example after example after example throughout the Bible. There's mm-hmm. example after example throughout our lives. It's just whether or not we choose to pay attention and go, wow, this is extraordinary. that, all of this
and
is
reflect on it and surrender your ego to it.
And you can imagine a 20-something may not have the same ability to be reflective in that manner, right? You and I imagining a 20-year-old
We've had a lot of time to reflect.
Well, not just that, but we know the 20-year-old Tim. I know the 20-year-old Kurtis, and the 30-year-old, and the 40-year-old, and later you're now 50 and 60, and you're going, holy cow!
Yeah,
what a powerful thing.
Yeah.
That I get these opportunities to, be in that presence and be able to then reflect it.
Yeah. I look back now and, I can definitely see, I've been getting so many opportunities just in life. I should be dead 3 times over.
At least.
With different things.
At least. Some of my stupidity, some of the things that for sure, there's absolutely no reason that I'm not dead.
Yeah, I'm the same way, those are big things.
If you're willing to
not
say,
even if you're all the small stuff and
big,
all the things that you were talking about earlier that you get to enjoy in this life. So I've definitely been shown a lot of grace for sure. I thought it was, interesting. You brought up some different, the examples of grace, throughout the Bible, or there's just endless passages about grace and different ways that it's lived out. But I like the idea of finding, some contemporary examples.
Yes.
And of course. One of the first and biggest ones, Nelson Mandela.
He's just amazing.
And for grace that forgives and rebuilds. And this is restorative grace,
yes.
As you're talking about.
Yeah.
So after 27 years of unjust imprisonment, Mandela emerged not with vengeance, but with forgiveness. He insisted on reconciliation, even with his oppressors, guiding South Africa from apartheid to democracy without a civil war. And, a quote from him here, as I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. And, the impact of that is grace transformed national trauma into a blueprint for reconciliation. Mm-hmm. And through Mandela, forgiveness became a collective act of restoration. And that's probably the most, that's one of the most perfect contemporary examples you can find. I mean, that's really a true grace. It mirrors Joseph in Genesis 50, verse 20. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, there's all sorts, and we're just going to keep going at it. The 2 Peter, chapter 1, verse 4. This is the verse, that you may participate in the divine nature. Grace doesn't just redeem humanity; it draws it into divine participation. So the human spirit's restoration opens a new horizon, becoming a vessel for divine life, not merely a recipient of divine mercy. And this is the mystery early Christians called theosis, from Greek theos, God. God became man so that man might become a partaker of God. And this is so rooted and just infused into who we should, are, could be, what we are. Mm-hmm. We are examples of grace. We are living examples of that mercy and that, extraordinary love. Mm-hmm. And when we finally, if we're allowed, if somehow we're lucky, so I just said lucky, that was the one word I didn't want to use in this, but we have the grace to move into, like a senior citizenhood. It's like to the youngsters, to the people that are kind of figuring life out. It's a gift. You know, it's an extraordinary gift.
Yeah, and I think it, you know, I mean, it's inside of us. You know, we talked about we have the Holy Spirit
Sure.
inside of us. It's, you know, so it's in there. It's built in, and you know, if we can, I think, you know, recognize it and rest in it and understand it and try and live in it.
Yeah, it's not here. You know, it's just not there. Your brain will totally not be able to fully comprehend what it is.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You could try, but it's so confounding. Essentially, it's so mysterious that when it's on you, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm living in grace. You know, I almost looked up "Amazing Grace," the song. That's a powerful story, by the way.
Yeah,
you know how that got written. The beautiful human, journey. So they kind of put this little thing into a, because I was doing a lot of different research, Tim, but I had a summary here, the deepening spiral of grace, where 4 different aspects of it, okay? And it was broken into stages, divine action, and then the human response and outcome, right? So restoration is God forgives and breathes new life, surrender, and then renewal, okay? So that's your restorative grace. Communion is God indwells in the heart. That's relationship, and the outcome is awareness. Transformation is God reshapes the soul's desires. That's the action. The human response is obedience, and then the outcome is holiness. So, again, I'm saying this, and maybe some of the listeners aren't connecting, or they're not so sure what this is, but there is an indwelling divine spirit that we have access to, but it's this kind of work that allows it to manifest. Right. And the final one, union. So God shares his own life. That's the divine action. That's Christ. That's the human response is love. And then the outcome is oneness. So, end of the day, that's Christ. That's his example. That's what he finally and fully did for humankind.
Yes.
We go, well, what does that mean? What does love mean? How does that work? Well, start your journey, right? There's a lot of it out there, and it grows. It grows and grows, and it grows through grace.
Yeah. And one day you get to the end of that sanctification process, and that is when we do, become one with God. Ideally, if you believe, and
yes,
and thankfully this life isn't it in all there is, and
I've got a spiritual reflection as we get close. Are we getting close to wrapping up?
What's that?
Are we getting close to wrapping up? How are you feeling? So. Have we hit enough points?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, just a lot of talking. Maybe one thing from you and one thing from me, just based on grace, if you have one example before we get out of here. By the way, Corinthians chapter 1, verse 27. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. Restorative grace reveals that compassion heals both the giver and the receiver. Goes both ways. And as I already pointed out, for me, I'm, entirely grateful that, I got to discover through my addiction and then through the rooms of recovery that I am a part of. I'm not alone. I am one with this greater sort of journey, and I don't have to feel alone anymore. And God put me in that place so that I could be of help, so that I could be of service, so that I could see my own sort of humility in there and express it then almost daily. And that daily work is, for me, just extraordinary. And that, I think, is my best example of the restorative grace.
And, you know, I don't know, I would just say that, you know, again, I've had, you know, so many times in life when I've, you know, been humbled, and it you know, it's definitely over time. It's something. It's a process. You know, I think, and you know, just when we're always trying to be better at, you know, to try and model, you know, the way Christ lived, and we're never going to get it right this side of heaven. But you know, there's so many ways to show it, and do it, and live it. You know, it's not for a lack of opportunity, and I definitely would encourage, you know, people to, with intention, to try and you know, understand the grace that you've received from God and others, and you know, to live it out. And you know,
there are a lot of sermons out there on grace. There's a lot of books on grace.
Yeah, again, it is the foundation of the Bible. It is all that. It is of the Christian religion. It's all about grace.
Yeah, and if you immerse yourself in it, I mean, you will find. And I would say,
yeah.
Okay, so that was awesome, and we ask you, fans, all 45 or 50 or however many, please, share the podcast. We're, again, 25 episodes. They're all up on Spotify and YouTube, and where else do we have a couple of them? I mean, regular channels, however that works. Try to keep them all at about an hour. There's a few that go long. There's a few that are only like 30 minutes. But we are grateful for you. And we're going to wrap today. Hopefully we get back together maybe in a week or so. We'll try our best.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be talking about, man, can you believe the Jaguars actually beat the Chargers?
Yeah, why not, I guess. But I just told you, I was emotionally going to take myself out of that. Go Jags, why not? There it is.
You'll watch it. With one eye.
Thank you for joining us. Been Not Strong, Empowering the Human Spirit. I'm Kurtis Loftus. We'll see you soon.